Aloha cupcakes. So I'm going to go through some of the process of how a painting happens around here. Now, I understand that the base coats are already on this one. There was a little bit of a failure involved in this one in that it is glow-in-the-dark powder on the canvas, and that just didn't shine through anything. So I sprayed it with UV reactive base coats, and that didn't work out the way I wanted it to either. I mean, here you can kind of see that it's a little more glowy, I guess. Now, I'm also not going to tell you what we're doing here today. Maybe I will. I don't know. Maybe it already showed you. I don't know. The thumbnail probably did, because that's, I give away secrets. I'm not really good at surprise endings. Sorry. It's just not. I'm a little too direct with everything that I do and say to really do anything that stands out in that regard. Now, one thing that I will tell you is I shot this thing with the Helios lens, and I am learning that the Helios lens has a very specific focal point. Now, I couldn't go reshoot this, so you're just going to have to deal with the fact that my wrist is in focus, and what I'm painting kind of isn't always. And even looking at it through my monitor, it looked like it was. So, sorry. This is me learning. Now, one of the things that I am working with here is that we're using different color of ivory and mixing it with Jadeite to get this grimy looking color. I guess I mixed it up to get what I thought was pretty close to the original of what we're painting today. And it kind of sort of works until the black light is on it, which the black light makes it look very brown. So yeah, it's just, the colors are kind of funky. And yes, I'm using a lettering quill to do something that a lettering quill should not do, but these are the kind of cheap lettering quills. So if I destroy them, I destroy them. Yay. Honestly, I was pulling enough surface area that it was actually doing better than the chisel brush that I was attempting at doing this with, which is my normal graphics brush. Because when you're working over the UV paint, it's a little bit more porous. And even though I could have just as easily sprayed some mid coat over it and smoothed things out and made this a little more fun, it's a canvas board. There's only so much paint I want to put onto one of these things. And yeah, I can clear it. I can do all that fun stuff and make it so that this is a lot easier on me. Or I can use a fatter brush. I can reduce it down so that it flows just a little bit easier. And I can just take a little bit more time in the sharper parts of what I need to paint. So here's a shot. This is the more of the UV paint. I'm actually spraying it on top of the stuff that you just saw me painting. And this is just so I can hopefully give it a little less of the griminess and a little more of the glowiness. And also, I should be using an airbrush for this, but seriously, this paint is so freaking thick. Even when I reduce it down, the airbrush just jams up. So the detail gun it is, and just trying to be very ginger about it is how we're doing it. Now, you can't really tell that I was standing about 2 feet back, but I was. Now, what I'm using with this one is a UV reactive purple. This is one of those auto air paint colors that doesn't exist anymore that apparently is like super awesome. I've had this stuff sitting in a drawer for a couple of years and I have not used it for much of anything. So we're going to waste a whole lot of it because it's fun. I am using a Grex airbrush, and it's the only airbrush I own, and it's a trigger airbrush. So it's a light shooting with a tiny little HLVP gun. And I will tell you, airbrushing is not something I'm great at. It is definitely not something I'm comfortable with, and it is not something I enjoy necessarily doing for things like this. It's just the most effective way to get this done. So like right there. I can't get my hands in the way. Pretty sure. Yeah, right there. I didn't do what I was supposed to do right there. It's just kind of technical term, by the way. Fortunately, my hand's in the way, so I can see me doing it, but you can't. So it seems slightly less embarrassing. Now, when we get to the detail part of it, I should be using a detailing brush, but like I said, we're on this canvas board. It's porous, it's kind of messy, and it's kind of needs a little bit thicker paint. So we're using one of the Dragonfly scrolling brushes, and I think this one is it's either the 1 or 2 gauge. They come up to, I believe, 5 and then down to 3 zeros, or 4 and 3 zeros. I don't know. I don't use the fatty one. I just stare at it and go, oh my God, that's such a fat brush. And then the super skinny one, it's just not something I'm entirely good with. I always get a whole bunch of paint at the very tip of it and somewhere in the middle of the body and never where I want it to go. So I've got my detailing brushes that I use for that stuff instead of using one of these things. Luckily, I think the line density on this needs to be thick enough that I can pretty much finish this with this. And I'll probably fill in the gaps with that quill again. Because it's, I don't have that much further to go. So, you want to see the end? Here you go. This is where we are. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope this was fun for you. It was definitely fun for me to make it, even if things didn't go quite right. Till my next video, stay moist, my friends.